Hi, good evening, and welcome to this edition of GreenStream this Thursday evening. My name is Justin McCarthy. I am the Green Party's digital director, and I will be your host. Tonight on GreenStream is going to run a little bit more like a candidate forum, so we're going to be talking with a number of featured Green Party candidates running for everything from school board to governor in November's statewide elections in New Jersey. Before we dive in, I just want to remind everybody that next week we will have our annual national convention in New Jersey on the campus of New Jersey Institute of Technology. We will have a number of candidate forums. We will have a number of workshops. We will be voting on a new platform, and we will have a whole bunch of organizers and veteran Green Party people on hand. There's still time to register. Please feel free to log on to our website, www.gp.org, and see what's going on. Well, as I said before, we're just going to jump right in to this edition of GreenStream. First person who is running for school board in the town of Brick, New Jersey. Jessica, thank you for joining us tonight. Let's just start with a quick question that I think a lot of our viewers at home can relate to. You're a teacher, and I'm sure that has certainly had some real impact on your decisions, but what is it specifically that lit a fire inside you and made you want to run for office, and why the Green Party?
Okay, well, I'm not just a teacher, but I'm also a Girl Scout leader. And what happened was one day my co-troop leader came in, and she was very upset. Her daughter had her recess removed. She had to go talk to her teacher, her principal, and the real issue was that her daughter had her recess removed only for a very minor infraction. She forgot to write her name on her paper. And the parents of all my other Girl Scouts chimed in and told me about all the other little things that they got their recess removed for, like forgetting to take out their folder fast enough, or one of my major problems is if they don't finish their classwork, they have to go to a workroom. They lose their entire recess, and they have to stay inside. And for me, as an early childhood educator, I know how important recess is. Kids need a break. Every aspect of the school day, from gym class to math lessons, is directed by teachers. Kids need a break. They need time to relax. We all get our lunch break. Children need that too. They need it for their mental health, but they also need it for physical release. They need it because they need a chance to talk to their friends. They have to socialize with each other. And I have gone to the board and I've talked to them, but when I heard the stories of all the different kinds of things that kids were losing their recess for, I decided that it wasn't enough just to go talk. I needed to actually run. Oh, and I picked the Green Party because I think that the other two major parties, they choose board candidates because they want to have some control or power over what's happening in local governments. And I don't want to be beholden to whatever control that they have, whatever their agenda is. I have my own agenda, and it's really just for the kids. And I think the Green Party will allow me to do that.
That's great. So you also call yourself, quote, an advocate for children's rights. I think that's fantastic, and I just wanted to ask you what that means to you personally, and what are some of the major issues that you're trying to make part of your platform as a candidate for school board?
Well, as an advocate, before I started to run, I really, again, I'm an early childhood educator, so what I advocate for is for play-based curriculums, children to learn through play. So there is a push from parents and from other educators for children to start learning academics even from infancy, toddlerhood, through preschool, and it goes straight up through kindergarten. And I'm advocating for children to learn the way science has told us that children should be learning through play. In kindergarten, I want to see children learning at least 2 hours, spending 2 hours playing each day to develop their social skills. Used to be a long time ago, kids would play after school. But now kids have homework to do. They have to go to their dance lessons or their soccer practice. They have to, do family stuff. And they don't have time to just go outside after school and play with their friends. And we need to bring play right into our classrooms and let them do it during the day. So I'm really advocating for that, for play for early childhood. And for first and second grade as well. I think that kids, especially if they're not getting their recess, they at least need to have some time to play during class.
So it sounds from what I'm hearing that you're very much interested in elementary school issues. Is that sort of really sort of your major area, sort of early childhood development? Is that sort of the major point that you're making as part of your campaign?
It is. It is. But recess is something that kids need at all ages. In our district, and middle schoolers don't get recess at all. They have removed recess from the actual school day completely. And there's elements of there's trouble all throughout with teachers are choosing not to teach social skills. And I think that is a major problem because core curriculum and praxis tests, they focus on academic skills, but children really need all skills. We need to develop the whole child, not just the parts of the child that are going to be tested. So I would really like them throughout all the years of education, middle school, even at high school, that we spend some time teaching children that have struggled with classroom management, behavior problems, how to learn their social skills. So I would love for teachers to have some professional development on how to teach those skills. Perhaps mindfulness classes, perhaps there's a whole bunch of different kinds of programs you can use. There's something called conscious discipline. There's bucket fillers. You can use any technique, but social skills is real throughout the age that the kids need to know.
One final question, Jessica. I also understand that you have a significant amount of experience in working for environmental rights, fighting for climate change, et cetera, and here at the Green Party we talk a lot about how we have to see things holistically, how things such as the school to prison pipeline are related to environmental issues, which are again related to racial equality issues. So could you maybe highlight for the viewers at home some of the other things that you've been taking an active interest in terms of organizing?
Yes, I definitely have stood up for 15 now. I also go to environmental protests. We went to the pipeline hearings right here at the Pinelands pipeline that's coming through the southern end of New Jersey. It's threatening the Pinelands. One of the ways that the school board can help is there was a school board it's not the Pinelands, it's the next, one of the other pipelines in New Jersey that's going through. The school board said that they were opposed to the pipeline. I don't know how much that influences the people who are in charge, but as a school board you can come out and against the pipelines, and I would love to do that. Okay, so I've also, like I said, I went to 15 Now protests. I've been working, and went out on Black Friday. We went 15 Now. I went to the March for Environmental Justice, and I talked about the value of nature play. I talked about the value of getting our kids outside and getting them involved in school gardens. There's something called an edible garden program where you can build schoolyard gardens right outside of schools, and they will teach children how to grow food, how it encourages them to eat new foods that they've grown, and I would love to implement those kind of programs in Brick. We have some programs in Brick with schoolyard gardens. However, they are limited to children who specifically take interest in those programs. I would like them to be school-wide, and they're only at certain schools right now. I would love to see them at all the schools in Brick. I am also a nature preschool teacher, and I do professional development. This year and for the past couple years, I have been talking to other educators about the value of nature play and the value of getting kids outside into natural spaces, because no one is going to learn to protect our earth if we don't, at least at the very first, instill a value of love for our natural spaces in our children. So here in Brick, we have a wide variety of natural spaces. We have the forest is available, the Pinelands. We have natural rivers. There's the beach. We're right by the ocean. And all of those are wonderful wild spaces that we can take our children to, even on walks and get them to on the regular basis so that they will protect our earth as they grow.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Nico now.
Thanks.
Nico, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hi. Hi. What? Hello?
I understand you have strong active factors, including work with civic engagement. Can you talk to you and all about the your activist experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a background in various sorts of activism, including LGBTQ activism, civic engagement activism, advocating for oppressed groups, advocating against corruption. It all really, and of course, healthcare for all. It stems from just my passion for, helping people. I grew up with a mother who was a home health aide, so helping people has always kind of been in my family. And in terms of civic engagement activism, while I was a student at college, I founded a student organization called the Coalition for Civic Engagement, which was devoted to not just engaging young people in politics in their communities, but also helping them kind of find a focus and find a passion so that they could sort of develop a passion pet project and connect them with legislators or politicians or anyone who could help them along the way to resolve the issue that they felt they saw in their community. Beyond that, I also developed various workshops, anything from fake news and finding reliable sources to how to be an effective and efficient activist. But most of my activism has probably been connected to the LGBTQ community. While I was a student at Stockton University, I was president of the LGBT student organization there called the Pride Alliance. My first year, we tripled the membership, tripled the amount of events we did. I was reelected a couple more times, and my last act as president was actually flying the rainbow flag for the first time in Stockton's history for LGBTQ History Month. I was actually just re-invited back in October this past October to speak at the 5th annual flag raising ceremony for LGBTQ History Month, so that was really cool. But more recently, activism, in terms of LGBTQ activism, I've been involved in a battle with the local school board over their lack of a transgender student policy. They were bringing up the topic of a transgender student policy, and after meeting with an organization, after several board members, school board members met with a church, they actually voted down the measure to have transgender student policy. So it's been a fight. We've gotten students at the school involved, we've gotten local activists involved, we've gotten members of the LGBTQ community in Atlantic County involved, and things look like they may be beginning to turn in our favor. We don't know, but I'm a passionate activist. I'm someone who wants to always make sure that I'm talking to people and fighting for what they want to see happen. That's what you get in the Green Party. That's what you get with, real people who are running for office for the right reasons.
Tell me a little bit about your platform for this particular campaign. What are your key issues?
Some of my key issues, I'm sorry, did my camera freeze?
Yes, but your audio is fine.
Okay. Some of my key issues are ultimately, I'd like for New Jersey to start developing a plan for a single-payer healthcare system. This stems from some things that I experienced in my life and my mother. 5 years ago, my mother had a massive stroke. After that stroke, she had to go on Medicaid because despite working in the healthcare field for her entire life and devoting her entire life to helping people, she couldn't afford health insurance. She had to go on Medicaid. Medicaid required, more or less, my mom had to go into a nursing home after her stroke. And despite despite being on Medicaid, all of her money had to go to the nursing home. Any money that she got from alimony or from Social Security, it had to go to the nursing home, which left me without a place to live and my mom without a place to come home to if she were to get out of the nursing home. This is a system, for all the good that Medicaid has done for my mom and for me, this is a system that, well, is not efficient. When I asked someone in the Medicaid office about, what happens when my mom gets better and she gets out of there? She's not able to save up any money to afford an apartment or anything. What's she supposed to do? The response was, she's going to stay on Medicaid. She's going to stay in that nursing home. It's a system that seems to be set up to cost the government money. So that leads into another thing that I'm very passionate about: government efficiency. It's a bit of a strange thing to hear Green talking about, but one of the things that I want to see start happening is seeing New Jersey government, corrupt as it is, start saving money and saving the environment. We can do efficient things, from anything from ending corrupt contract practices and reducing the situations under which New Jersey will extend a state contract for a state project, to simple things like installing those switches in government buildings to turn the lights off after 2 minutes. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've driven past a state building, a county building, and the lights are all on because over the weekend and no one's in the building, and the lights are all on just because someone didn't shut the lights off. I mean, these are simple things with simple fixes, and ultimately, down the line, it's going to save the state a lot of money, which brings me to a third thing. I'm a big person on future focus. We in New Jersey really need to start focusing on long-term solutions for things. New Jersey just had a recent budget issue. It shut down the state government, and it was all over fighting about healthcare providers and whether or not whether or not the state was going to be taking money out of their reserves in order to patch up some budget holes and fund some pet projects of Chris Christie. Now, aside from the fact that a single-payer system would resolve the issue, this is a temporary fix. This isn't something that's going to solve any big budget problems down the line. We need to start looking at solutions that are going to be effective long-term. Even if it ends up being a short-term big investment, things like adding solar panels to all state buildings is going to save the government a lot of money. Things like transitioning our power grids to a more efficient solution than coal and natural gas. Things that are really just going to end up resulting in a positive outcome down the line. And it may hurt for a little while at first, but it's going to result in people in New Jersey being able to have their property taxes reduced, being able to see, a more efficient and effective government that is doing things that help people instead of just scrambling together days after the end of the fiscal year just to try to scramble together a budget that only really helps people for maybe a fiscal year, if that. So those are kind of my three big things. Bringing in a single-payer system, having a more efficient government, and and a lot of future focus on long-term solutions.
Thank you very much for being here and for telling us about your campaign. I wish you the best of luck. And will you be at the national meeting?
I'm going to do my best to be there.
Okay.
It's very likely that I'll be there at least one of the days. I recently got a new job, and that's eating into one of the days of the national meeting. But I absolutely plan to be there. I'm going to try my best.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Seth Tapperdale, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I've been told you're running a grassroots people-powered campaign, and you've raised $100,000 plus at this point.
We're about there, yes.
How are you able to do that? Because that's an accomplishment for a Green candidate. Tell me about your outreach.
So I really believe that the Green Party has the potential to be the party of the people. We have been lacking a political party that represents the people for a very long time. So, for example, in the state of New Jersey, we had 61% of the registered voters not appear for the last gubernatorial election. And 61%, those are the people I want to go to, not only for their votes, but also for their financial contributions. So we're looking to people with very little money, and we're saying that we're actually coming up with a platform that can meet your needs, that where you're going to be considered first instead of last. And so that's one of the ways that we've been able to really begin grassroots fundraising. And also we've been fortunate that through the years of my work here in New Jersey as a pastor and social justice advocate, I have built a huge web of people who trust that I know how to administrate and how to work for programs of justice and peace. And so folks have been quite generous above their means, really, beyond their means, helping me get started.
So in 2006, you co-founded the RCHP, Affordable Housing Corporation, which has created housing for women aging out of foster care, veterans, the homeless, the mentally ill, re-entering citizens, justice-involved youth and refugees. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I became a pastor in 2001, my wife and I quickly found that the people who came to us seeking, I'll call it wraparound support, whether they came for spiritual support or food or problems with difficulties in their relationships, financial troubles, there were some things that were consistent in everybody's story. And in New Jersey, one of the central consistent hindrances was that people didn't have a place to lay their head that they were sure would be there the next day. They didn't have enough money to pay the exorbitant rents in our county. They couldn't find jobs that offered a livable wage that would allow them to be able to afford these rents. So we decided that if we were going to be pastors in the state of New Jersey, we were going to be part of the answer, part of the solution to helping those who are most vulnerable to get affordable housing. So we created the Reformed Church of Highland Park Affordable Housing Corporation, and through a web of partnerships with the state and the county and with local organizations, we've been able to now actually create 23 buildings, and we have about 115 to 120 tenants at a time. And our tenants are homeless veterans, youth aging out of foster care, re-entering citizens, chronically homeless, mentally ill adults, developmentally disabled individuals, refugees, and asylees.
Thank you. What are some of your key issues? I've heard immigrant rights is an issue that you're working on. Give me an idea of some of the issues important to your gubernatorial campaign.
Yes. So in my campaign, there are two ways I like to talk about my issues. The first thing I like to do is to focus on who's first for me. And I always say the last are first. So for me, children are first in my platform. I'm concerned about kids not having affordable housing, and we are 400,000 units of affordable housing behind where we should be in this state if we'd been faithful to a thing called the Mount Laurel agreements from 40 years ago. We need to get caught up in terms of our affordable housing plan. The lack of affordable housing in every town in New Jersey has led kids to suffer in the public school system. Our schools have become schools that look like Plessy versus Ferguson is the law of the land, separate but equal, instead of Brown versus Board of Education. We have apartheid-like towns when it comes to our housing, and it shakes down into apartheid-like schools. And then people in the wealthy towns complain about huge amounts of money going into inner city schools that don't show great results. And I say, you get what you've created, New Jersey. We've created an apartheid state, and we need to get serious about proper funding for housing and proper funding for schools. So kids are first on my agenda. Another group that's first on my agenda are folks who are caught up in the mass incarceration system that's not only present in New Jersey, but in all of this country. So I'm very serious about things like no one ever losing the right to vote. And I would work hard to make sure that nobody loses the right to vote in New Jersey. There's no reason when you're incarcerated why that right is taken from you. I also would be pushing for reform within the jail to make sure that we're not paying slave wages to people who are locked up. On the outside, their families are struggling. to make ends meet, and on the inside, some for-profit companies making a bundle off individuals making $1 a day for doing labor inside the jail. I have a hard time with things like this. And immigrants. I'm deeply concerned about the 500,000 immigrants in New Jersey who are undocumented and are, with this particular president right now, facing daily fear. We've had tough presidents for a long time when it comes to immigration. President Obama was the deporter-in-chief, but now we have a deporter-in-chief who's based his whole platform on bias and hate, and just the chaos that's been created needs to be addressed. The way I'm going to approach supporting all of these individuals, all these populations within the state, are through three big central issues. And these issues will create the kind of funding that allows us to build the housing and pay for the schooling and other programs. So I just want to tell you what those three items are. The first is single-payer Medicare for all. I believe that in the state of New Jersey, we can model what this whole country needs, and that's to get away from the health insurance monsters, really, who are taking so much of the profit straight to themselves. We need to set ourselves free from that, and it will create an economic wellspring for this state if we stop throwing our money straight to the health insurance system. The second thing is public banking. At the moment, we put $1 in the bank, it becomes $10 for a hedge fund manager to use anywhere in the world to build pipelines and dig mines and destroy forests and build the mother of all bombs. And I don't want to do that anymore. We should be investing in our own state and in the infrastructure that we so desperately need to see prepared. So I'd like to put $1 into a state bank that then becomes $10 loaned out to rebuild our mass transit system, to offer affordable loans to students, to build a renewable energy future, and to help folks who are in foreclosure to find their way out of foreclosure. So public bank's a big idea. And finally, progressive taxation. Our state has fallen way behind in what we demand from the very richest. We only have a 7-bracket tax system. Some other states have 10, 12, even 13 brackets. We need to make sure that the more people are making in this grotesquely unequal neoliberal reality that we live in, the more they're kicking in to support the commons.
So let me ask you, given the recent incident in New Jersey, I just have to because it's a current topic, with Chris Christie at the beach during a government shutdown. Do you have a response to that, a sentiment to how you would handle things differently, just to differentiate yourself? I have to bring that up. Yes,
it has become another national laughingstock moment for the state because of that photo. But really, the story behind it is much scarier. The governor was attempting to take $300 million from Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. Generally, I'm very okay with us taking on the huge health insurance world. But in this particular moment where everything is up in the air, for a governor who we don't trust to go raiding a health insurance industry just feels like a very wrong-headed moment for such a move, especially when it is the case that there's a good chance this governor is auditioning to have some role in a for-profit opioid response to the opioid crisis. So you kind of feel like he was robbing Horizon or those who get their health care from Horizon, their health insurance from Horizon, in order to create a pool of money that maybe he would personally benefit from as he tries to create a for-profit opioid answer. We don't want a for-profit opioid answer. So the picture was problematic, but all of the background stories and the possibilities of the dirty deals, that makes it an even uglier picture.
And an important question, given the annual national meeting is coming up in a week in your state, in Newark, New Jersey. Will you be there? Will people from New Jersey be able to come and meet you?
I will be at the annual meeting the entire block. I've blocked off those days. I just want to spend time with other Greens from around the country. I want to hear what people are thinking about. I want to soak in your ideas, and I want to share my own ideas with you. And I hope people will keep going to copperdaleforgovernor.com to support my campaign from all over the country, both before the convention and after the convention, because this is the most high-profile green race in this country right now, a gubernatorial race where I have a really good chance to create some chaos for the Democrats in this state. The Democrats have chosen a Goldman Sachs candidate in this year when everyone is upset about the top 1% of the 1% and all the other things we're upset about. Here we have a chance to really take on that Goldman Sachs candidate, and I hope you'll join me in that effort.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to ask you one because I've some favorites with tactical and strategic questions. Greens have always faced challenges in getting media attention, and your campaign is significant in that you have a good grassroots base. Tell me a little bit about what your approach is towards the media, given the history of the media's whiteout/blackout of Green candidates.
Yeah. I am fortunate to have had tremendous success with the media in New Jersey for the past 15 years. They have covered me as Seth Copperdale, the pastor, the activist pastor who builds housing for veterans, who offers sanctuary in his church, who sets up a emergency response team to protect immigrants from ICE raids, who stands outside detention centers. They love me in that capacity. I have not found yet that they love me as Seth Copperdale, the Green Party candidate for governor. But I believe that that's changing. We've been very fortunate recently to get some high-profile interviews with a couple of the cable channels, and I can just sense that we're on the verge of the state starting to realize that someone that the state knows in the activist community is now being raised the profile of a real-life politician. I think it's going to happen. I've got about 40 or 50 names of people who've covered me over the years, so I can call them individually and really press them to press their people. Tomorrow morning on Morning Edition, you will hear me speak. I will be covered by Tom Gelton on a program on immigrants, and I hope that you'll listen to me there. 7:05 tomorrow morning, NPR nationwide.
Thank you very much. Coming up next is.
Thanks.
Thank you. Coming up next is. Pardon me. Troy Knight Napper, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Glad you were able to join us. We've had a few technical problems on the Skype end. The stream has been going fine. I'll curse out Microsoft after the show. Then, now that Microsoft owns Skype, Skype has declined. But tell me a little bit about your background and your motivation for running as a Green. What is your activist history?
Honestly, my activist history is very limited, and to be honest with you, the reason why I decided to become a politician in the sense of the word is because I felt that the politicians who I voted for and the people that voted for these politicians, their voices weren't truly heard and being spoken for in the correct manner. And honestly, if I was younger and knew now what I know, knew then what I know now, I would have been an activist a long time ago.
Well, what were the things in your life that caused you to do this? What were the motivating factors? Because it's a big move for somebody to go from a citizen to politically motivated to offer an alternative.
Well, honestly, I was raised in East Orange. I'm a neighbor to the district I'm running for office in, and that's a heavily marginalized community. And my grandfather, the people who raised me, my grandfather was a detective, and we were pretty well off and everything. So I can't say for a fact that I was, poor and everything. But as I got older, I started to realize that things weren't as black and white as I thought they were growing up. And as I got older, I became more aware of my skin complexion. And I began to have trouble because of that. I've been pulled over for, non-working taillights that didn't exist. I've been pulled over in my parking lot. I've been accused of trespassing in my own home. it got really bad, and I have two beautiful boys, and I felt that if the politicians that I voted for aren't not going to speak up for these kind of injustices, loud and angry about it, then I should do it.
Thank you. That's important. How as a candidate, what ideas do you have to change this? Because this has been going on. I mean, I'm from New York, and we see that here too. I mean, stop and frisk, and what they call in New York City, not too far from Newark, is broken windows, and the kind of basically it amounts to racial profiling, even under so-called liberal democratic administrations. So. What would you do to change it? What things would you do as a state senator?
Well, first things first is that I was tired of being on the sidelines, and as I saw the Green Party as a movement I needed to be a part of, I definitely would be working for environmental justice and social justice. And as a senator, I would propose bills to reform the police, and maybe at one point even propose a new agency to police or to investigate police brutality and questionable arrests. Because seeing how investigations on the inside have produced nothing, that is a shame. We've had more police killings with citizens in God knows how long, and it's just becoming it's now become a problem, and it's not just a national issue.
And
so, will you be at the annual national meeting next week, given that it's in Newark? How close is that to your district?
Actually, I believe it's 2 blocks from my district. Newark is part of my district, actually, and but it's so gerrymandered over there that one block can be my district, and then the next block would be somebody else's district, and then the block over will be my district again. So that's something I would also want to work on and try to get that fixed. And in regards to your question, yes, I plan to be there as much as I can, because I would love to meet fellow Greens and bounce ideas and things of that nature.
Okay, and I believe we have Justin back.
Yes, I'm back again. We apologize for those technical difficulties. Thank you again. I appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit about why you're running for state senate. We need a few more normal people in the state houses around the country.
Oh, thank you. No, it's been a pleasure and a learning experience for me. Even attempting to run for the first time and getting as much support as I have from the Green Party has just been truly amazing.
I did want to ask you one quick question. In your campaign literature, one of your sort of recurring themes that you see is you talk about this gap between the haves and the have-nots. And you say, I think quite rightly, that quote, marginalized communities deserve better. The Green Party has long been at the front of campaigns, for instance, the Fight for 15, et cetera, et cetera. So, what are some of these issues? You touched on them a little bit. What are some of these issues that made you feel like running as a Green was sort of the right thing to do?
Well, Legislative District 28 is a cross-section of New Jersey. You have your urban communities, you have your working-class suburban communities, and then you have your affluent suburbs. And running alone against an uncaring, entrenched Democrat, straight machine, he's done nothing in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And he's just been there. And I met some wonderful people tonight at a press conference, and they all said the same thing. We have somebody in office who's done nothing for our communities. In fact, the West Ward of Newark is pretty much a ghost town now, with all the foreclosed housing and homelessness. The police very rarely go there when there's calls. It's just a mess. And I know as a senator, I don't have direct influence there, but I will be sure to make to press those who do have influence there to start making changes.
That's wonderful. Just for our viewers at home, the link to Troy's Facebook page is in our comments section, and you can also follow him, I believe, on Twitter at Night for 28th. Troy, do you have any last thoughts? And thank you for your time tonight.
Well, no, pretty much like you said, you can follow me on Facebook, and please follow me on Twitter also. We are currently working on getting a website made, and we're also going to be doing a fundraiser on the 14th. The same weekend of the annual meeting in Newark, so it's not going to be that far. So please get in touch with me on my Facebook, and if you would like to donate to me, please. I can use all the help I can get to get this Democrat out of office. We need to start building the Green Party from scratch, and we need to make it a movement, not just here in New Jersey, but all over the country. And we need momentum, and the more people who join us, the bigger, the better.
Absolutely. That's words to live by. Thank you again so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Well, so we've heard from to remind our viewers that we have Greens running all over the country in special election in 2017. For instance, one of our other fairly high-profile candidates is Jabari Brisport, who is running a tremendous campaign for city council in New York.
Hi, this is Craig Seaman, the man behind the curtain, as they say. Sorry for the technical problems. Let's see if I can get to... Yeah, I believe we've lost Justin. Sorry for the technical problems, but thank you for joining in and surviving through this. I hope you learned a lot from our candidates from New Jersey, and remember to, if you're from New Jersey or willing to travel, our annual national meeting is next week, starting on Thursday, July 13th through the 16th. And if you can't make it, we will have video and live streams from there. So you will get to see some of our candidates again. With that, I'll bid you a good night, and thanks for